Okay, I think we'll make a start. We've got just over 20 participants, and I know we've got around 53 signed up. So I'm sure people will join us as we go along. Just so you know, the session is being recorded as well. So if you do want to kind of catch up and revisit the webinar afterwards, that's absolutely fine. We'll be sending that out to all of the participants. And if you know of anyone who wasn't able to make today, then just send them that link when that comes through, and yeah, we'll be happy to share that with you. But welcome, it's Friday as a start, which is great. I'm LJ, and I head up the Entrepreneurship Centre here at the LSE. And I'm part of the Aspect Consortium or network. I'm head up along with my colleagues in the various different universities, head up the entrepreneurship community of practice. Now, I'm hoping that you guys are here today because you're interested in potentially applying for the Aspect Accelerator. It's the very first Aspect Accelerator that we've ever run. So you guys, if you are selected, will be part of an exciting new venture that will hopefully continue across the years and really shine a light on the opportunities that are brought about when you combine social sciences and innovation. I don't know how much of you know anything about Aspect. It's a brand new initiative. We recently received as a group of universities around £5 million through from the government. Aspect is really here to kind of raise the profile of social sciences research and really develop and exchange knowledge and best practice, and most importantly inspire and encourage early stage entrepreneurs that are looking to develop businesses through a kind of a social science lens. So we are super excited to be running this in collaboration with all of the other amazing universities here that you can see on your screen. We have a fantastic gang of entrepreneurs that are actually going to be running this as well. And I actually want to pass over now to Kaj, who's currently running the Social Sciences Impact Accelerator that we have been piloting here at LSE. And we're going to be taking some of the learnings from that to develop the current accelerator. So I'm going to pass you on to her, who will then pass you on to Kieran and Caroline. We do want to offer a time for questions and a lot of time for questions. So do get those questions at the ready. I'm happy to answer absolutely anything related to this new exciting project. So do have your questions ready. And if there's anything that is outstanding, feel free to get in touch with us afterwards. But thanks very much for coming along. Have an amazing weekend. And without further ado, I will pass you on to the wonderful Kaj.
Thanks, LJ. Unfortunately, I'm in London and not in beautiful Italy. But we are, as LJ said, really excited about this accelerator. And we have a great team, Caroline and Kieran, on board, who are going to be the sort of leading people on the 4 months that you will be spending on this if you get in. So as LJ mentioned, I'm running the current LSE accelerator. I am an economist by background and then did an MBA. So it's a sort of full circle of social science and commercialization, which we are basically pioneering in this first accelerator. And the idea is that if you have a background in social science, if you have a business model that's impact driven, rooted in social science processes, this is an accelerator which will help you really hone in on your idea and help you grow a business through the 4 months of programming. So we'll talk a little bit about that later, but it's a blended learning program. You'll have a mix of business fundamentals, things on digitization, data and automation, and then really developing you as leaders. And all of this will be complemented by mentorship, people from the founder community, investor community coming in to teach you all of this. So we're almost at the end of our current accelerator. We have a grand finale in September with Imperial for the demo day. But this accelerator, we will be kicking off at the end of September. And this is your opportunity to ask any questions of us, the experience on the first accelerator, and you'll hear from someone from LSE who's been through that as well. So I don't want to talk too much now. I'll hand back to Caroline and Kieran, but do ask as many questions as you can at the end.
Perfect. Thanks, Kajal. I'm Caroline. Nice to meet you. I'm working right now with Kajal on the current LSE Accelerator as well in community and operations. So for this upcoming accelerator with Aspect, That's also how I'll be interacting with you guys if you're selected, helping you build the community, but then also making sure that your programming runs smoothly. Before coming to LSE, I am a master's student now in public administration. I worked for an international NGO of electricity utility companies in communications and then also in program management. So that's my professional background. I'll pass it on now to Kieran, who will tell us a little bit more about ourselves and then get us cracking on what the Aspect Accelerator is going to be about.
Thank you, Caroline. So yeah, my name's Kieran. I am a graduate from the University of Manchester, one of the partner universities here with the Aspect Network. And my kind of background and specialism has been in startup entrepreneurship and a little bit of venture capital, focused mostly on kind of supporting founders and founder-facing roles and running innovation programs, incubators and accelerators for the past 4 years. And I really, really enjoy working with, in particular with academics looking to commercialize or take ideas from that really seed and early stage into something, into a reality and into the market. So now I think I'm going to touch a little bit on the mission of Aspect and kind of our values. So our mission here as part of the Aspect Network, but also very integrally in the Accelerator program, is to equip, hopefully you guys are the entrepreneurs in our networks and in the respective networks of the partner universities, and help you effectively commercialize and grow your ventures. As LJ said, this is our inaugural accelerator program, but historically the team has run many a series of these types of educational and entrepreneurial programs across loads of different institutions, and we have really put a very summative and supportive kind of curriculum in place and frameworks to support you in kind of bringing your ideas into reality. Something important that we really want to touch on at this the earliest stage, but it's something that's important to us throughout, is our value around diversity. And one of the key principles of the Aspect Network and in particular our program is ensuring that there is a fairer and more diverse entrepreneurial ecosystem for all of you to build your businesses in, whether you're based in London or Manchester or any of the other technology hubs throughout the UK. What we want our founders to strive for is to build sustainable and equitable businesses. This isn't about chasing unicorn status, although it would be lovely if some of you guys build billion-dollar businesses. But what matters for us is that you're trying to build something that makes an impact in the world, and an integral part of that is enabling you guys to feel like you guys can interface with us in the most effective way. So I think my details will be shared with you guys at the end of this event through the Eventbrite. But please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or need any extra support in your application because of any extenuating circumstances or reasons. But that's a really important thing to us, and we want to echo that at the beginning of this. I'm gonna hand over to Caroline, I think, to talk a little bit more about the program.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. So LJ and Kajal have already talked about a lot of these points. The Aspect Accelerator, it's going to be the first joint university accelerator of its kind in Europe. And our focus is on trying to support socially responsible student and alumni ventures. In terms of how the 4 months of the program will look, is there will be up to 20 businesses selected for the cohort, and that will be comprised of ventures from all the different Aspect universities. And the program will take place from the end of September 2020 until the end of January 2021. And given the current situation that we're all in, all of this programming is going to be delivered virtually. In terms of the nitty-gritty of what we're going to be looking for in your applications, the basic eligibility criteria are on this slide. So first of all, our most important criteria is that we're looking for businesses that have a business model or a business process that's rooted in social sciences, or have founders that have a background in social science studies. The businesses that you are proposing should be driven by impact and then also aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we're hoping for at least 2 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals being thought about through either the way you're running the business or the way that your business is going to create impact, and that's part of the application questions as well, as thinking about how your business meets these SDGs. Your business has to be recently launched, so less than 2 years old, and be pre-seed or seed round only. So sort of more thinking about early stage ventures. We also need you to be pitch ready, which just means that you're going to be able to put together a deck and tell people about what your business is or what your business plan is. And in terms of the sort of basic is you have to be either a current student in one of the Aspect universities or an alumni. And the alumni participation eligibility is going to be different depending on your institution. So each university will usually have different rules about how many years ago you had to have graduated in order to be participating in different programming that's run by the university. So I'd advise you to check with your individual institution on that if that's one of your questions. In terms of places, places are open to a maximum of 2 team members per company. So if you have more than 2 founders, only 2 of them will be able to join on for the programming in the 4 months. So if you're selected for the program, what you can expect is that there will be 4 months of programming targeted at social science and early stage entrepreneurs. And Kieran will tell us a bit later about what that programming is going to look like. You'll have access to skills workshops, a network of different entrepreneurs, investors, people in the startup space, and as well as academic research opportunities within the Aspect network of universities. You'll meet a lot of other people who are also socially conscious entrepreneurs within your cohort. There'll be mentorship and personal development opportunities through different mentoring programs. Also access to online learning resources and the entrepreneurial ecosystem via different online events that will run, including a demo day at the end of the accelerator. There's no equity taken and there's no cost for your participation. The universities are not going to take equity from your ventures. And there is a £4,000 stipend per company that will be awarded to the participating cohort, but this is conditional on full participation within the Aspect program. I'll pass it on now to Kieran, who will tell us a little bit more about what to expect for curriculum.
Thank you, Caroline. So the curriculum is a really kind of the backbone to any good accelerator or incubator program, and we've worked really, really hard to kind of make sure that this is interfacing with you from a very social and impact standpoint. So we are very cognizant that your businesses that we will take onto the program will be very much grounded in the UN Sustainable Development Goals and trying to make that impact. And so we will teach with that in mind. The kind of core competencies that we'll be looking to develop around you guys would be in the spaces of startup fundamentals, sales, business model innovation, marketing, branding, and as Gazelle mentioned before, around kind of ethical data use and ethics in founding companies. That being said, we are looking to build iterative models in, and we focus a lot on kind of real-time feedback from participants on the programs that we run. So if there are certain things that you want to learn more about, or certain things that you find are less relevant, it's about communicating with us on the program, and we will create infrastructure so that communication is really up to date. And then by within weeks' notice, we'll be able to iterate and improve and find more relevant talks and subject matters to discuss with you. On the point of who will be delivering, we also strongly believe that founders are the best teachers of many of these topics, but we also have a wide network of people from the different institutions that we're working with, and in particular in London through LSC's network, whether they be investors or digital agencies or freelancers, but predominantly entrepreneurs, all of them who would position themselves as entrepreneurs because they're qualified to speak around entrepreneurship because that's their bread and butter, that's their background, that's their experience. And we will strive to find the most relevant people. And one of the benefits of having a virtual program is we can reach out to people from the States, we can reach out to people from Australasia and Asia and all over the world and get them to share their experiences, whether they be more niche and relevant to certain geographies or markets or sectors and technologies. There's been so much opportunity in this space, and it's something we're really excited to kind of leverage for maximum value. Thank you, Caroline. So in terms of delivery, there's a handful of major ways that we will deliver value throughout the program. As I mentioned before, we're really focused on having a blended learning approach that combines time for you to build your businesses and time for us to deliver educational units for you guys. And we will balance them out in a structured way that enables you to maximize the amount of time working on your business, because that's fundamentally the most important thing you can do with that time. So we usually structure our sessions as quite intense boot camps. We will have give or take 8 of those throughout the course of the semester. We will have hands-on clinics hosted by actual practitioners with edges in the field. So years of experience in consultancy, innovation, technical, legal, for example. Leadership development is also a core part of the curriculum, and it's very much focused on building you guys up. We are aware, using kind of fundamental venture economics, we know that not every business that's on a program is going to be super successful, but you as founders are the biggest asset that business has. And so we want to make sure that you are the best versions of yourselves by the time you graduate the program, and have a really wide skill set and awareness of the world that you're in and the industries that you're trying to work in. So we will be putting an onus on leadership development. And lastly, networking opportunities. LSE's network is really broad, and we have 10 amazing institutions with equivalent networks all throughout the UK. And those networks expand internationally as well. With hundreds of thousands of alumni, millions of alumni who can open doors into certain sectors, spaces, events, and meetings. We will do our best to correlate as much of that as possible to make it easy for you to interface and access. But we will put a lot of pressure on kind of virtual socials, virtual events, and hopefully leveraging the Aspect network.
Thank you, Kieran. So I'll walk you guys quickly through the last part of our presentation, which is thinking about the application process. We are currently at this stage, 10th of July, info Q&A webinar. Applications are already open online, and the URL will be shared with you at the end of this presentation for those of you who have not seen it yet already. The application form closes at the end of July. During the month of August, each of the universities is going to be looking at their top ventures, and then all of the top ventures from the universities will pitch to a final selection panel closer to the end of August. And then we'll launch the accelerator at the end of September. So in terms of the application form that's currently open on the website, it is relatively short. We're asking you for, most of it is the basics of your business and your idea. And it is pretty much standard sort of information that one would expect to be able to present what your company is and who you are. And as I said before, during the month of August, each of the universities is going to internally select their top ventures, and will inform you during the month of August whether or not you will be selected to pitch at the final selection panel, which is taking place on the 24th and the 25th of August. So you would be selected to pitch on one of those days, because we just need to divide the number of teams equally across those 2 days. For that pitch, you would be expected to present for approximately 5 minutes on your business. Then there would be about a 5-minute question and answer period with the judges who are on that call. And then all the participants who are successful will be informed of the selection results in early September. And as I had mentioned before, the final cohort will include a mix of ventures from across the different Aspect universities. So you're going to have an opportunity to meet other people from different places. And even though we can't meet in person, we can do so virtually. And then the programming will kick off at the end of September, on September 28th. It will run throughout the course of the fall or the Michaelmas term, and end closer to the end of January in 2021. So I think that is enough of the logistics from me and Kieran for now. I wanted to invite on board Alice, who is one of the members of our current LSE Generate Accelerator and the founder of GAP 17. I saw you earlier, Alice, come in on the call.
Hey guys,
yes,
I'm here.
If you wanted to tell us a little bit more about yourself, your company, your experience in the accelerator.
Sure. First of all, apologies about that picture. I should really change it. I'm Alice. I am the co-founder of GAP 17, as Caroline mentioned, which is a digital platform that helps businesses and charities come together and partner up through the SDGs and measure the impact of their initiatives as well. So we started this this accelerator. I'm here like the representative of the LSE cohort. We started this in March, which is when basically the lockdown started. So we had to pivot quite a lot, and there's a huge shout out there to all the Generate team, because it was just amazing. And even if you guys are doing this program virtually, the value that is going to add to your business and you as a leader is just unmeasurable. It was for me. I mean, I always say to them that this program really changed my life, and I say this in a very genuine way, because when I started this, I honestly had no idea about what I was doing. I thought I did, but actually now, if I look at myself and I look at myself 4 months ago, it's just like, okay, what was I even doing? And sometimes when you're so fully involved in your business and fully committed to what you're doing, you don't even see the mistakes that you're doing. But being part of a community that can come back to you with feedback, that can constantly. I was messaging with Gazelle and Caroline until a few minutes ago about a competition that we're doing for the mayor of London, and it's just it seems nothing, but it's so much value. There is so much value in the fact that you can just message someone to ask, what do you think about this, and they will get back to you saying, oh, I think you can improve on this, or I think you're really good on that. It's really, really important, because it will bring new opinions within your business, within what you're doing, and they become, for me, it's like they become part of the team, and they start running the business with you and helping you, like Kieran was mentioning, become the best version of yourself, which I think it's really happening in my case. I'm not there yet, I would say, to be the best version of myself, but it's definitely an improved version as a leader and as the CEO of my company so far. And any questions, feel free to ask if you want to know anything about my experience or anything. More than happy to help you guys.
Thank you so much, Alice. That was really nice. And I hope that you guys also who joined for the Aspect Accelerator get the same sort of fulfilling and rewarding experience as well. I think from our side, that's it on the content. As LJ had mentioned, we do want to leave a lot of time for Q&A, so we have a good 30 minutes or so for questions and answers. I see some of you have already been putting your questions in the chat. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but given that we're also about 20-something participants, if you do have a question, you could also unmute yourself and deliver it verbally as well. We have a question from Ash, who asks, do both team members need to be students or alumni of Aspect universities, or just one?
So you need to be, in order to apply, at least one of you has to be from the accelerator, but from the university, sorry. The stipend will only go to the person from the Aspect University Accelerator. But if you have up to 2 team members, you can both apply together.
We have a question from Melanie, who's asking if we could get more detail about the application and what the application form entails. I suggest if you go to the website that's listed on this page, aspect.ac.uk/aspect-accelerator, you'll be able to see the form, and then you can look at all the questions that it will ask. We have a question from Crystal, whether our businesses must be registered as a social enterprises. Must they be related to charity, and what is the social science business from your definition? So it's a 3-part question.
Thanks, Crystal, for the question. So just to be really clear, Caroline, could you flick back to the slide with the criteria? So this isn't for social enterprises or charities. That's just one arm of this. We're casting the net quite broad here. So what we're saying is you should have a business model, or the way that you're building the process is impact driven. So it's not that it has to be a social enterprise as an entity, but we need to see some impact, and you can demonstrate that by alignment to UN SDG goals, or for example, in the way that you're building your team, that it's diverse and inclusive, so it's fairly broad, and or you could have a social science background. So the last answer to that question, the business doesn't need to be related to the charity. So the social science business definition is as on the slide. It's very, very broad. So as long as you're one of those 3 things, you're eligible to apply.
Just to give it also some practical examples of companies that you guys might overlook as like driving a huge social impact. Like Monzo is an amazing example of a financial technology company that's increasing access to finance. Bulb is a really interesting company, which most people overlook as just an energy provider, but they have a huge focus on renewables and making sure that less economically developed clients can also access like stable and renewable energy supply. So we really nurture you guys to think outside the box when it comes to how you're driving impact and measuring impact, and we definitely see ourselves working with very purpose-driven businesses that also have profit as a really important part to build a sustainable future company.
Thanks, Kieran. And Faiza, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So no equity. So if you look at most accelerators, they all ask for equity. So actually you guys are in a really unique time, because this doesn't ask for equity or any cost from you. We actually give you a stipend. So it's very, very unique and rare in that respect. So that's what that means. We don't take a share in your business for you to participate. And if you look at most accelerators, they can take up to 5 to 8% of your businesses just to be a part of it.
There was an earlier question as well from Harina. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. Since everything will be virtual, doesn't mean your accelerator is open to businesses outside the UK. Kajal, if I'm correct, it's you don't have to be registered here, but you have to be transacting your business here, or what's the policy there?
Yeah, so we will send some updated clarification notes on this. You don't have to be incorporated here, so it is open internationally. You have to be a student of a student of the university. Where there's a lot more coming. Arta, the difference between the LSE Generate Accelerator and Aspect Accelerator. So it's 11:30. The LSE Generator was just for LSE students and alumni. The Aspect Accelerator is across all universities, but also there is more emphasis on Aspect on being rooted in social science. So we do have a different set of criteria for Aspect than we did for the LSE Generate Accelerator. Ash, is there a set number of ventures allowed per university? We have a minimum that we want to reach for each university. Beyond that, it's meritocratic, so it's based on who is good enough to get in. Anna von Gresham. So Anna, I would say no to this because, and Alice can probably attest to this as well, it is quite a time commitment. It's an investment by all of our universities into you. So we do want participants to be fully committed to your business. There was a question earlier about whether you could be part-time. You can, but we're very, very clear on the participation. So if you don't have that time, you're just not going to be able to get the full value out of it.
Crystal has a question around categorizing pre-seed. I think that the framing here is between having raised no money and also have up into, if I'm correct, £500,000 is the maximum amount of funding that someone will be allowed onto this program having. But we forecast that a lot more people will be coming on this end with no financing or a couple of maybe pitch competitions, but very minimal on the equity round style fundraising.
I think the last two questions are linked. So the condition of the business. Yes, you can if you have an idea, but what I would say is this is a competition, right? There's only 20 places in total. So your idea has to be well researched and you have to be pitch ready, as we mentioned before. So as long as your idea is well developed enough, you stand a good chance of getting in. I don't want to botch up the pronunciation of your name. So just to your question, question 11, if you're between A and B, if there isn't a field there, then just do the one which you skew towards. So if you think you're closer to B, then just put B.
In the interest of using Alice as a resource, Alice, what maybe one or two things that you would do differently if you were going to join Aspect?
Oh.
Based on your LSE Generate experience?
Good question. What would I do differently? I guess start to question myself earlier. Mm-hmm. I would say that. So start to take in feedback, not just in like, oh, okay, they're saying this, but I know what I'm doing. But actually realize, okay, maybe I don't really know what I'm doing and they know more. So that's definitely something I would, and it took me a while to come to that point because, you know, as I was saying before, when you're really in love, I would say, with what you're doing, it can become really difficult to, you know, step out of the comfort zone and actually question, okay, is what I'm doing actually the best way of doing this? So I would definitely listen and embrace feedback earlier on. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know about another thing. I would have to think about that.
That's okay. Another thing I often see when people are applying to the programs that I've been running historically, it's that they're really excited about the prospect of running something, but they're not sure whether they have the right idea at this time. Do you have any advice or thoughts about kind of ideation and how you kind of evolved your business?
Yeah, I guess very, very simple question is listen to your customers. Just go out there and do as much research as you can, continually listen to your customer. I'm launching the MVP this month, but I still see myself in customer discovery. I still talk to the people that I want to validate the business idea with, not in a, oh, I'm doing this very cool thing, do you want to join? I'm still there asking them questions. What is your problem? Even if, you know, they keep saying the same thing over and over again, and that's good because it means that the problem is validated, but just keep listening to them, because every single person could tell you a new thing that you had missed before. So if you are in ideation stage, just stop thinking and just go up there and listen to people, because that's going to make a real difference, or a real difference for your business. And I think there was a question on the chat that was missed in terms of what makes a good application. My suggestion would be that incorporate what your customers or potential customers, potential users have been telling you, because that will really, really make a difference in terms of, even if you don't have strong traction in early stage, if you show the judges that you've been listening to what your customers are telling you and you're solving a problem that they actually lose sleep at night for, then you're really showing already that there is early traction in that sense, that you're going towards something that can be solved and you're solving that.
Thank you, Alice. That's a very, very important point. And it's something I would advise everyone. If you're about to apply and you could do one thing differently, I would say just talk to one more person and validate the assumption that this is something that people want to use. And if you think that you can't get in front of the customer right now, I'm sure there is a way. And we're happy to talk about that kind of stuff. So please reach out to us through the details that should be on the website, if not for our LinkedIn's or Twitters, and engage with us there.
One thing I would add to that on Alice's point, if you do get through to the application and you get through to the pitch day, Alice was brilliant at this, but just communicating your passion and enthusiasm. We do really care about this, because this is a roller coaster of a journey. So you need to show that to really get through the ups and downs of this. We're going to be there to have your back. But you know, Alice is a really good example of someone who's really passionate about what she's doing and demonstrates that commitment. And so even if you don't have all of the business knowledge, finance knowledge before you apply, don't worry about that. I think we just want to see that demonstrated commitment from you.
We have a question. Do you provide introductions to investors and corporations through your network? I would say, as we had touched on previously, Arthur, through some of our presentation, there will be programming that sort of focuses on being able to connect you guys in the startup ecosystem, both within London and, as Kieran had mentioned, other places in the world as well. But then, of course, it is also up to the founders as well to be proactive and reach out to people that they want.
I think Caroline and Kajal might have a slightly different opinion to me, but I think we'll be really hands-on to help you in that process when everyone is ready for that journey. But it can be quite distracting at the earliest stage. Of course, I don't know what stage of your business you're in, Arthur, but in this really early stage, you go talk to investors before you've validated your assumptions and got some initial traction and done the initial testing that we can help you frame. It can be really distracting when people either hopefully are waving money at you, but also just when they're saying no a lot and you don't really understand why. So we'll definitely coach you through that process.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kieran.
Ash is saying, please may you circulate a list of the application questions. It
Yes.
would be easier to prepare answers through clicking through. The type form is actually really, really short, deceptively so. So there are quite literally only about five relevant questions. The remainder are like name, last name, email. So it's very simple first stage. I can ask more questions to Alice if that would be of interest. You guys can put some emoji thumbs up if you just want to have a quick fireside chat with one of the founders who's on a program and knows a little bit more, has some more experience in the journey.
I would also say if people in the chat have questions for Alice,
yeah,
you can post them here as well.
No emojis.
No emojis for me.
Oh, okay. What's the most important to you in allocating the 20 places? Interesting question. Please, Kajal.
Go, Kieran. I'll add to you.
So I think there's like there's two sides to this. There's like the business side, and like there's the kind of the criteria to get into the program. So assuming you're applying and you're ticking all the boxes for the criteria to get into the program, I think like the really important things that are often looked out for at this really early stage of your company's life cycle are the people. So who's in your team, the product, and kind of that traction. So what are you developing? Is it unique? Is it defensible? Does it have something special about it? And then that market section. So do a lot of people have this problem? Are a lot of people challenged by this? Is this problem an immediate thing for them? Are they willing to pay a lot of money from it? I think the framework that is often used is like, what's the frequency of the problem that people are facing? Is it expensive? Is there regulation around it that's now making it a more pressing matter? And is it painful? Does it make your users want to cry? Are they really upset by it? And if you can really align with at least two or a handful of those things, you're in a really good space, because your solution will hopefully help a lot of people, and that's really, really valuable. In particular, with impact-driven businesses, there is always a huge degree of emotional intelligence required from founders, and emotional interaction with your customers. So those are definitely things I think to be looking out for.
Just to add to Kieran's point, we know that your businesses aren't going to be fully baked. So that's why we look for really good research and just your resourcefulness on your market idea and what you're committing to. But I just want to labor on the point on leadership here. This program, similar to the LSE current accelerator, is about nurturing leaders. You may go through this journey, decide not to do that particular business or do another business, but what we want you to be equipped with is the entrepreneurial skills to be able to develop well beyond the accelerator. So we do look for evidence of that in your pitch, bringing in team members, advisors, etc. And then we will make sure we support you through that during the 4 months as well.
One more thing I forgot, which is a question. So the questions we're asking are also quite clear indicators of variables that we're looking out for, but there's something around it, correct me if I'm wrong, the ecosystem, and how can you help the ecosystem as well? And this is a model that's been very much spearheaded in the States, but I think it's one that we're very much trying to replicate, which is kind of like, you're there to grow your business, but you're also there to grow the ecosystem, and you're there to support the founders who are on the programs with you, and you're there to support your employees and the interns and the network here. And this only works. Our program can only be free, and the infrastructure can only support for so long before we need the ecosystem to lift each other up too. And so I would very much advocate for you to think really long and hard about what else can you bring to the community when you're with 10, 15, 20 other founders in a room. How do you add value to everyone? And then they're all going to be trying to add value to you too. So it's a really sustainable model, but we need that level of that kind of awareness and self-awareness of what's going on around you and how you can support, whether that be for your research or your own network or collaborations. I've seen some amazing work done between parties on the LSE Generate program in reaction to COVID. On my program as well up in Manchester, I've seen some amazing stuff around PPE and logistics support, and these things are very spontaneous, but we knew that the founders were going to be doing these things kind of from day one. So that's really something to be aware of.
We did have someone ask any advice if we get to the final pitch, and yes, as Kajal typed in the chat, we'll give you sort of guidelines of what we're looking for. But perhaps Alice, if you're still on the call, you want to share. It has been a process, and it takes months sometimes to put together different pitches. But if you want to share maybe like your top 3 tips for people who are just getting started on pitching, what they can think of.
It is a process, and I can honestly say that mine isn't there yet, as Kajal very well know, but we're working on that. But my main tips would be, first of all, I think it's 55% in the stats that make when they ask you what's the most important thing when you deliver a presentation, 55% is body language. So definitely think about your body language, even if you are pitching. I think it's going to be virtual. Even if you are pitching virtually, do think about your body language. Content is the smallest part, but if I can, I mean, I did touch on content before, and it's all about your customers, and make sure that you convey the magnitude of the problem and how you're solving the problem, and also why you are the best team for this. I think I still remember when we had this kind of pre-accelerator session in the Generate Cave at LSE, I asked Gazelle, what are the three main things you wanna see in the pitch? And she said, the problem has to be big enough. You need to have commitment to solve this problem, and you need to be the best team for the job. So if you touch on these three things, I think you're going to be far ahead. I had another thing in mind. Oh yeah, the way you present. Always make sure that you have a story behind you. Don't just come to the pitch with like hundreds of stats and research and graphs on your slides, because first of all, no one has time to look at the slides if they're listening to what you're saying, and second of all, you want to make sure that people can relate to your story. So just to give you an example, I remember it's an old version now, but when we pitched at Generate in January, we had this video of us presenting ourselves, smiling in front of the camera, saying who we were and why we were doing this. And it was all about the fact that we wanted to make an impact using the SDGs, which is also very relatable to the fact that this accelerator is specifically asking for impact towards the SDGs. So it's not just a random story that we're doing this because this and that, but it's a story that people and your audience can relate to. So I guess to sum this up is ask yourself, who is my audience, and what does my audience care about, and how can I make my story relevant to this audience?
Kaja with a little plug there in the chat. Alice, please feel free to put the link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll share it.
On that point, if you haven't got a slide deck yet and you're in the application process, I'm pretty sure there's a domain to drag and drop somewhat of a couple of pieces of content. Don't feel so pressured. There's so many templates online with really simple, just kind of problem, solution, market, segment. I would say if you're going from the ground up, please don't be trying to put together what I would describe as an academic documentation of your business. Like just talk to us really simply about how these problems, solutions, and break it down so that anyone could understand it just by looking at a couple of slides and say, okay, well, I understand how you're approaching this, why, and the team is really important at this stage. I just want to echo that on Alice's point of like, you are the right people to solve this problem. I love to know when I'm speaking to a founder that there are very few other people in the world who I would rather be sitting in front of talking about this problem with. And that comes from your academic studies, that comes from your research, that comes from your lived experience, which is hopefully really diverse amongst yourselves, the cohort, and your team, within your team even. So look at the intersection where those kind of meet, and look at the opportunities there in those corners.
And if I can just build on that, Kieran, if you do lack some of the skills that are key to your solution at the moment, just make sure that you can bring in the advisors that can cover that. So if you know people around you, your networks, the people that are considered thought leaders in their sector, just talk to them and see if they want to get involved with you and bring them in, because that really boosts the team and advisor slide. And conveys an idea that you can really deliver on this business that you're talking about.
Okay. Any more questions? We have 13 minutes. Could you say a little more about the 5 relevant questions on the application form?
Feel free, guys, to just jump in. But first name, hopefully that's a simple field to fill in. Email, also simple. Not my personal ones, but we'll go through. The university that you're from. If you've been to more than these, if you did your undergraduate somewhere and your postgraduate somewhere and as such, just go with your most recent one. I think that's the easiest way to move it. Once again, please just check with your university. There should be some communications on their website. What defines alumni and what defines a student, a degree type. Your course of study, please include the title as well. If it was a bachelor's, if it was master's, if it was a PhD. We understand you might not know the exact date that you threw your hat up in the air, but go with the month and just go with the first of that month. That'll be helpful. LinkedIn's are really helpful for us to just get an overview of your kind of the background of your representatives and your team. We know that there's so much more to you than just a link with a couple of logos on, but we need just some initial information to understand on that point of why are you a good team to tackle this problem. And you guys are all respectively, I'm sure, very impressive in your own regards, and you have your own lived experience. So if you can condense that in an efficient way, that'd be really helpful. I know it's quite daunting when there's no like maximum characters. We understand that some of you might have more and less to say. Reasonable kind of go by like no more than 200 words per person. I'm sure it's pretty just adding the title of the researcher background. Kajal, did you say something?
Yeah, so just a comment on this one is, if you are basing your business, because it's in part on social science commercialization, if some of your business idea is based on research that you've done, we just want to be able to track that. So just indicate that. That's not necessary that you will, but if you do, then we'd like to know.
Perfect. Are you running your venture full time? Please be honest at this stage, and potentially if you're ready to move it more into a full time thing by the time the program starts, like just allude to that here in this section. And this is the exploring the business section. So the stage of your business is I think someone in the chat mentioned this before, but whatever you skew towards is really helpful here. For those of you who haven't done any research on this before, that's completely fine and understandable. If you have the personal funding and finances, what's known as bootstrapping, if you have your own finances to kind of carry this business forward, that's fine here. You probably don't need to, but if you're looking to scale something technologically complex, you're probably going to need to put infrastructure in place, and that will cost significant financing. This can be really hard if as Alice said before, if you're in love with this idea, you want to be able to shout it from the rooftops, and preferably more than one sentence of a shout. So please feel free to, I like to describe it as, what's your tweet pitch? Like, what's your 140 characters to just try and say, to get this across? We are solving X problem for X community by doing Y, and that's really often as simple as it needs to get, just to give us a perspective of the industry you're in and how you're working on. Don't feel pressured to knock together a super complicated website here. If you have something that's great, you can also use platforms like Notion. If you don't want to code, you can use platforms like Wix just to host an idea together. And it's a great way to validate by just having an email domain. Wow, we're really helping you here. This is a hand-holding of an application process right now. The problem or need in the market you're solving is, once again, don't go crazy with like over 200 to 1,000 words. Just nice and concise about how do you see the problem, how do your customers see the problem. And my personal favorite, just go out and talk to people and share the stories that you've had, and share the communications that you've had, and share the research that you've done to know that this is a problem for a lot of people very regularly. If not regularly, is it an expensive one? If not expensive, is it a regulatory driven one, and as such? Please follow this link and just do a little bit of reading around the SDGs. Most social impact businesses will quite easily touch into two, as Kajal said, that it's a really broad spectrum for this. So like creating an inclusive environment to making like actual really tangible steps towards SDGs. There's a huge spectrum of how you can be making impact in your business. Figure out a way to articulate this and highlight the focus of it. But please, for those of you who are thinking you can just cheat by putting every SDG, please don't do that. It's really evident when we know what's feasible and what's infeasible for these. We've done a lot of work in this space. Your motivation is really helpful, and this one has a character limit. So please figure out what parts of the program that are really exciting and you think are going to be really beneficial for yourself. That's a great exercise for us to know, but also a great exercise for you to understand where you're deriving value to. And then if you're accepted onto the program, how might you contribute to this community? And that's echoing the point that myself and LJ also echoed. Here's the deck section for you to upload some content. And then for GDPR compliance, please let us communicate with you in future. And that's it. I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah. Ash, I hope that answers your question. Also, I know there are a couple other people who had asked the questions as well. So it is pretty straightforward. It just requires you to have, how to think about what you want to achieve and what you hope that your business will achieve, and be able to articulate that. Okay. If there are no more questions, last call. We can put the questions in the chat. Okay, wanted to confirm one more thing. If they're an incoming LSE student joining in September, would I be eligible to participate? Yes, because you would be studying at the LSE during the time of this program, so you would be meeting the eligibility requirements of being a student of the Aspect Accelerator. In terms of do you need to collaborate with current LSE students, I think it had been mentioned in the chat before. Of course, we're accepting sole founders, and we'll also accept up to 2 founders per company. That's your choice if you think for your business and your idea you want to have a company that's just founded by you, or with other people who you might feel could help you with that venture. metrics are consistent. Yes, thank you, Kajal, for answering that question. And how many applications are you expecting? Hard to say at this time how many applications we may get. Based on the popularity of this webinar, we're hoping many. Sort of your chances of making it to the final pitch day will obviously be contingent on how many people have applied and sent their applications in. How many do we expect to be invited to pitch in August? Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's about between 40 and 50, correct?
Yeah, and so just on ratios, if we just benchmark against the current accelerator, we had over 100 applications for 15 places. So it should be a good guide.
That was just from one university as
That's
well.
one,
Just to put it in perspective, we're working with 10 universities, so hopefully in the thousands. I feel like I scared everyone off this call.
Yeah, exactly. There will be at least some spaces for each university, because we just want to ensure that we have a diverse cohort as well. Okay, it seems like the questions are coming to a trickle. If anyone has any other questions, you can reach out to us. I think the email for LC Generate is, you can find it in the Eventbrite, but I will also type it in the chat. And thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you, Alice, also for coming and sharing your experiences. I hope the others were able to gain some insight into what it's like to be part of an accelerator cohort. We look forward to seeing your guys' applications and hopefully hearing from some of you in August.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.